So today we are here to have our public hearing on the 2026 Housing Development Gap Financing, or HDGF guidelines. As you are probably aware, and as I have up here on the slide, OHFA does have our first draft of these guidelines out for public comment right now. We are accepting public comment through this 30-day period until Monday, September 22nd, until 5 p.m. You are able to submit these comments to qap@ohiohome.org. Just make sure that subject line says like HDGF comments, just so that we get those organized correctly. But for today's public hearing, we are open to hearing any comments that you have regarding these guidelines. It can be the same comments that you might be submitting to the email address. They could be different. It's kind of up to you guys as well. I'm also here to answer any questions that you may have on these guidelines as well. And so I don't have a formal presentation at all to go through to discuss these guidelines, so I will turn it over to you all. I don't anticipate that we'll use the full hour, but it's there if we need it. And so I will turn it over to you guys. And if you want to raise your hand, Claire, and we'll go in order of those.
Thanks, Cody. Good morning or afternoon. I had one question. Could you explain in a little more detail the appellation set aside? It seems different from how it's been used in other programs. There's a few more layers to what's required there. Could you talk us through that a little bit?
So with the appellation set aside, yes, there are a few more requirements that we are putting into place for the HDGF guidelines. And this is really to kind of ensure local support as well as financial sustainability for these projects that are submitted in Appalachia. So there's a few requirements that they have to make that's kind of highlighted here on this slide, mostly that they are located in Appalachian County. The next is just that they are serving that chronically homeless population. So looking at not only meeting the PSH definition, but then also this HUD coordinated entry. So working alongside the balance of state continuum of care, and then making sure that we have those firm financial commitments in place from the county's Adam H board, the Department of Behavioral Health, which was formerly OMOS, and then that there's project-based rental subsidy on the units. This is just from a lot of the interest into the program on different types of projects that people are wanting to do in Appalachia. And so kind of creating this, putting in these requirements to help decide these projects. Is that helpful, or do you want more information, or?
No, yeah, that makes sense. I just wanted to confirm that all of those layers were required and just hear a little bit of background on why. So I appreciate it.
Yes, I will say too, so even though we have this set aside, trying to get to the way that the program is set up is just that it's based on two funding pools, right? So we'll have our participating jurisdictions, so areas of the state that receive a direct allocation from HUD, and then we have our non-PJ areas that do not receive that direct allocation. So we are anticipating that 70% of our available funding for the HDGF round will go to these non-participating jurisdictions, which would include this Appalachian set-aside, that PSH set-aside that we have. So even if you are not meeting the requirements of that Appalachian PSH set aside, we are still aiming to do 70% of our funds in non-PJ areas. So even if you're not fully meeting that set aside, still submit, because there could still be remaining funds in the non-PJ areas to make allocations.
Understood. Thank you.
Brittany?
Hi. Yeah. I I'm going to submit written comments too, but I just had a couple of questions or comments I wanted to point out. One of them, we're super excited to see a large non-PJ set aside. That's where we're located, and we really struggle to find larger sources of funding. One of the things that has been available in the past was an exception for the more than 50% of project costs for non-PJs, which I didn't really see in there. So I just wanted to bring that up. And then the other question was when the Kerwin Institute information would even be out. It's kind of, if it was linked, I didn't see it, so I apologize. But the one I found on the website was last year. And it's just kind of hard to like wrap your head around it when you can't see it yet. So I didn't know when that was going to be out.
Yes, so we, let me reshare a different screen, 1 second. Did you have further comments? I don't mean to cut you off.
I mean, yeah, well, those are my big ones. So I'll leave it there for now. I'm gonna see what other people have to say. I don't want to take up a whole bunch of time. Plus, I have it all written out, so I'm gonna submit it written anyway.
Okay. Yeah, let me share the screen just to put that out for everyone.
Okay.
So on our website, on the HDGF page, we do have this first draft map that's there, so you are able to go on and see. So just a correction of what you were saying as well. So the Kerwin Institute was prior years. We contracted with the Urban Institute. So these are the maps that are done on the 9% that are now being transitioned to our other programs starting in 2026. So
the opportunity index is, I'm just trying to find it on the website.
Yes, so on that map, you're able to see, and for this pool, we're using all general occupancy. And so we also have the housing needs. We've also already received comments regarding
Derek Tillman.
a interest in adding in the neighborhood change as well with the place-based impact. So that is something that we are weighing in as well, if that should be added in as scoring. It's not currently a layer here because it wasn't incorporated into these guidelines, but that is a comment that we have received. And so
I'm trying to find the page.
Yeah, I can.
No, it's okay.
It's in the chat.
I think I was just in my head. I had the Kerwin Institute thing, so that's where I got confused.
Oh, not a problem. And so we should, I don't see that document on here, but it is on the 9% page, if you scroll down to the location aspects, we have the indices methodology. We also have the final data posted here as well. So if you're wanting to see how each individual census tract, what their neighborhood opportunity score is, and housing needs index score, you're able to see that on the 9% side. Again, we're transitioning everything over to HDGF, but since HDGF is not finalized yet with the guidelines, we don't want to post any available data until that is, the QAP is actually approved. But you can get a sense of how this, what the data is for that there. So that's on the 9%.
Use the 2026, 2027 QAP map for now.
So that you can use the HDGF map, but the data here will be the same. The 9% just has a lot more information in it than what is used on the HDGF.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
No,
and then this methodology is just Urban Institute's explanation of how these indices were created, and what's going on through that. So we will get this moved over if it's not on Chelsea's saying that. Oh, I guess the methodology is right here underneath experience and capacity.
Okay. It's probably when I looked last week, I didn't see it. So sorry about that. Thank you for showing me.
Yeah, not a problem. Are there other comments that, Roy, you have your hand up?
Is Wayne ahead of me? See his hands up too.
Oh, I do see, yes, a 2 after Wayne, so yes.
Yeah.
Sorry about that, Wayne.
No worries. Morning, Cody. Afternoon. I know I see the maximum request. Is there a minimum that you guys are requiring?
No, at this time, there's no minimum. The only requirements that are kind of put in as of now is just that it cannot exceed 50% of total development costs. And then based on where you are located, it will have these maximum requests. So say you are doing 200,000, but your project only costs 300,000. Well, that wouldn't be eligible. It would have to be a $150,000 request because it can't exceed more than 50%.
Gotcha.
Is that it, Wayne? Okay.
Yeah, that was it.
My turn. Thanks. Couple things. I see. And I understand what you're trying to do to make this program more similar to other OHFA programs in the sense of process and having some threshold standards that folks have to achieve in order to apply. I understand that. But there's two things about the eligibility aspect that I don't understand necessarily. One is, I know this is an HDAP program, requiring, though, that as a threshold, an applicant has to have completed an HDAP project. I just wonder whether that is altogether fair. There are a lot of groups out there that are pretty substantial and pretty competent that have used other programs, maybe local home funds and maybe funds from other state agencies in the mental health or developmental disabilities areas, or some combination of those things, to where they could demonstrate their experience with using public funds. I mean, I think what you're mostly concerned about, I could be wrong here, is that people are understanding requirements for the use of this type of money. And I get it, but I don't think the differences between using Ohio Housing Trust Fund and using home funds, say, for example, from a local city or county sources, those seem pretty relevant, as well as OMAS money or DODD money. I think it's close enough that possibly that's a scoring differential, but I don't know that it ought to be an absolute bar. The second comment there is I don't understand on page 20 of these guidelines, you talk about maximum applications that people can submit, and that's all based on use of tax credits. And so I don't understand why prior use of tax credits would dictate how many things you could submit. I mean, I guess if you hadn't placed a tax credit project in service, you would be ineligible to even submit an application here, or is that just an error in the guidelines? I have one other comment. I don't know if you want to respond to that one or just respond to them all at the same time. The other comment I have is in the scoring system. So I understand how I think the affordability and subsidy commitments make some sense. The leveraging makes some sense, whether I agree or not exactly with the points attributed to them. The issue I have is with the maps, and I have some of the same views about these maps for the 9% and 4% LIHTC programs too. But here, the maps seem even less relevant, because when we're housing special populations, so to speak, I think that whether it is in a census tract with a high or low housing needs index isn't really the issue, because the population to be served is a specific population that's going to draw from a much larger area Like typically if we're housing folks who have mental illness, or we're housing folks who are homeless, or housing folks who have developmental disabilities, we're really drawing from like a much larger area, and the location of the site where we're housing them is much less significant. If you want to use these maps, because you already have the maps, I get it, but it should be balanced by an analysis of the need for this housing by the target population. Like what's the scale of the unserved population being housed? That's a much more important attribute to where we're going to award this housing than whether it happens to be located in a census tract that has high or low opportunity index. It's just not relevant here. I struggled with this. I don't want to be that critical, but it's much less important than other things you might consider, I feel. And so I wanted to make that point. I know you're committed to it, but I don't know. That's what I got. So I'm particularly interested in your response to this issue about threshold access.
Yeah, so I will go for the mapping question first and then work my way back, because I might have to have some clarification. So just looking at access to HDGF, this is not just for PSH households. This is for multiple populations. So we there's really just that requirement of looking at 50% AMI households or less, but there's no I guess we don't explicitly state it in there, but we could be going all the way up to 120 AMI on these units. So this is not just a PSH funding program. It serves many more different populations with this. So that is why we see different mechanisms on looking at scoring and kind of ensuring different financial commitments. Like we have a policy goal of serving certain populations, but that doesn't mean that it's exclusive to those. And having these location-based scoring helps us make determinations as well. We do have 10 million this year available, or for 2026 available. And so, but I think there's a huge interest into this program. And so having some type of scoring mechanism in place will really help us make decisions when it comes down to it. When looking at the requirements that you were saying, so I assume you're referencing this table?
Yes.
So what we are saying here is just that there is this or, we put it in to be bolded. So you can either have, and this is being demonstrated in our new experience and capacity standards that are currently out for comment as well. But what we are looking at is just that you can either have experience to be eligible to participate. You can either have experience within our LIHTC program, or you can have experience by doing an HDEP program through OHFA by having an issued HDEP final performance report. So we're having two different avenues that you can either be a LIHTC developer, or you can have HDEP experience. And I understand the comment that you were saying that you could have local home experience, but may not have worked with OHFA. And we are just trying to create a system so that the people that we are working with, there's at least someone on the team that has worked with OHFA before, either on our tax credit side or HDEP side. And that's what we're trying to put into these guidelines, that if they don't have experience with OHFA, they can partner then with an organization such as you that has experience with OHFA to submit an application. It's not everyone on the development team needs to have it. It's just one member of the development team needs to have that experience.
I get that. Okay, I appreciate your clarifying that final performance report refers to HDEP. So that does help, but you know, these are such small projects that requiring people to partner like is pretty challenging, given like there's such a small upside in these deals to start with that it really does narrow the number of projects that you would get as submissions, given that, you know, if someone's trying to do 12 units and the total budget of that project is $3 million, you know, and the developer fee, I'm not saying this is all about money, but it is about money too. And so like if the developer fee on that project is $250,000 maybe, you know, and it's just like when you start talking about splitting things, it's just hard to get experienced partners involved who don't already have a mission to do the kind of project it is. So I understand where you're coming from. You don't want to deal with people who don't know what they're doing. I just, you just don't want to raise the bar too high also.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. And I think that that is something that we've learned over the years, that these are typically smaller developers that we are working with, but these are also fundings that have compliance monitoring aspects to them for a 30-year period. And so we need to ensure that those entities understand that there is a compliance aspect and that these will be monitored over the 30-year period, affordability period. And so we just need to, that's been our experience, is just that if they have OHFA experience, they know that and understand that, which is why we've kind of put these minimum qualifications to kind of participate in this program. But I thank you for your comment. Are there other comments, questions that you guys have?
Yeah, I'm just going off of what Roy said there. I did get the feeling reading through these that it wasn't as pointed towards small projects as it has been in the past, and it already is pretty hard to make the numbers work on like the less than 12 unit sized things, and without having access to municipal funds, right? That's kind of what the PJ set aside is for, is we don't have access to those large amounts of money. So even, especially if the 50% cap is there, these projects are going to be really small, because there's just not sources of hundreds of thousands of dollars to make them work. So I don't know, I'm just kind of thinking out loud. I don't really have a super specific comment there, other than in the non-PJ set aside, I feel like it'll be challenging. But I appreciate some of the scoring, making it a little more, black and white than it maybe had been in the past. But yeah, some of the wording feels more pointed towards larger developers or larger projects or like tech stuff. So. That's it. Sorry.
No, thank you for your comment. Yeah, I think if it would be helpful if in your comment letter, if you point out specific things. I mean, again, our goal is not to.
Yeah, sure. I didn't want to take up a lot of time talking, but I have comments written out that are not all of them are, these huge concerns, more just commentary. So I'm passing that along later. I just wanted to be part of the live convo, I guess.
Yeah. Are there other questions, comments? I know, Roy, your hand's raised. I don't know if that's from before or if it's new. But yeah, I mean, I will just say that it's just like when going through the HDGF program and process, is just given the in 2023 really brought an interesting year to OHFA, and there was a very high demand for HDGF. And so we had no way to really score and differentiate projects, which is why we wanted to step back and actually evaluate and put in a scoring system for the HDGF program, put in different threshold requirements, and kind of formalizing this program and modeling it off of a lot of our LIHTC programs. I think a lot of this is kind of based around our BGF, while combining the 9% as well, just really with the BGF on having that PJ, non-PJ aspect with how the funding's being set up. And so wanting to replicate that into the HDGF round. And so that's just kind of the reasoning behind kind of this shift of what we kind of saw in the 2023 guidelines to what we're seeing now for the 2026. It's just that we see a huge demand for this, and so we need to put mechanisms in place so that OHFA can make a decision on who is successful in a round or not. And so we can give this a few more minutes. Again, we have the time until 1, but if there are no further comments or questions that you guys would like to raise during this public hearing, we can always give you back a majority of this time. As I said, and what's on the screen is just like we're happy to accept these comments until Monday by 5 p.m. We hope to bring a second draft or potentially a final draft in October. It really just depends on stakeholder feedback and potential changes that need to occur. And so once we receive all of those, then we will make those assessments and provide something at the October board meeting. But this is being recorded, so if you guys missed anything at the beginning, we will be posting this to our website on the HDGF page as a recording. And so, Christopher, I saw that you joined later, but if you have any public comments or questions, feel free to provide those now. We're kind of
Nothing for me right now. Thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you all so much for joining us today for the public hearing. And thank you so much for your comments and questions.